Saturday Night Racing League Cup Series. What a finish!
Too little, too late from behind, and Sebastian Marin, your first repeat top split winner of the qualifying series.
He knew it was just a matter of time when Hunter Sr. is victorious.
Josh Adams taking the win at Iowa.
GC Spider Motorsports takes home the 1-2-3 finish.
Welcome, everyone, to the sweeping dunes of the legendary circuit Zandvoort, where today, Simu Nation brings you another thrilling round of Porsche Cup action. Nestled along the North Sea coastline, Zandvoort is a circuit that demands absolute commitment. Fast, flowing corners, unforgiving elevation changes, and those iconic banked turns that test both driver courage and precision. Tonight, it's all about mastering momentum. In these Porsche Cup machines, there's no room for error, just raw driving skill and razor-thin margins separating the field. Qualifying is crucial here, overtaking is a challenge, and one small mistake can send you into the gravel. So expect strategy, patience, and plenty of intensity as these drivers push to the limit. Strap in because the dunes are alive with the sounds of flat six engines, folks. This is Simu Nation Porsche Cup. This is racing at Zandvoort, and it starts right now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's a pleasure to be your host. I'm Sagar Bakshi. Joined with me in the booth is Jacob Lenke. This is a NOX Gaming sponsored event. Championship is powered by NOX Gaming. Shop for all major sim racing brands under one roof. NOX Gaming also offers PC building services throughout Canada. And also, Wolf Sim Racing builds the high-end gear that makes the difference. Precision engineered dashboards and mods designed for ultimate performance. Don't just play the game, live it. As I said, we're at the circuit Zandvoort. This is going to be round 6. And so many weeks ago, back at the end of January, we started this all in Mexico City. Only 2 rounds waiting after this. We head to the United States in Willow Springs and then Daytona. Bill Bouchard tops the charts with 358 points, only a 30-point lead, though, to David Lamoureux and Anthony Landry. 85 points back there with his maiden win. Kevin Norris, Anthony Lasciarite, Patrick Archambault, Jesse Mosley, Arnaud Janeski, Tommy Bork, and Simone Seguin are going to round out your top 10. It's tight as ever here with Simu Nation, and even though Lasciarite has 3 wins to his name, he's still 100 points back in the championship. Can he clinch it with just 3 rounds remaining? Well, that's to be decided, folks. Take a look at the track guide that we have here for Zandvoort. It'll be a track length of 2.6 miles or 4.2 kilometers. Founded in 1948, it's been the current layout since 2020. We are, of course, located in Zandvoort, Netherlands, with 14 corners total, 4 to the left, 10 to the right. It's awfully abrasive on those left-hand tires. Only 29 feet of elevation change, but it feels like much more than that, doesn't it, Jacob?
Yes, it does. There's a lot of elevation change with this one, similar to what we saw at Red Bull Ring earlier this season, but something that we haven't seen all season to this point are these very tall bank curves that are going to play a major role in how they get around this track tonight.
Absolutely, Jacob. Looking at the race analysis going into it, it's going to be a race length of 40 minutes. Unlimited tire sets, only calling the local yellows. 100% fuel and iRacing open setups for all of the drivers to have to manage. So, with that being said, like I stated earlier, on behalf of V-Speed Productions, I'm Sagar Bakshi, and joining me in the booth is going to be Jacob Lenke, coming at you live from Zandvoort in the Netherlands. Jacob, are you ready for some racing action?
Yes, I am. And like I said before, this series in particular has been putting on a masterclass when it comes to sportsmanship and just overall driving skill. No matter where you are in the field, everybody's just treating each other with respect, fighting as you would, as we just see somebody take it and loop it through the that's one of the early curves, one of the high bank that's Hugenholtz, I believe. JF Lassard looped it through there, so that's going to be one lap down for him, and he's going to have to either go in, get some new tires, or try to salvage what he can out of the rest of this run.
And look at how tight it is for that pole position right now. 13 thousandths separates Phil Bouchard from David Lamoureux right now. Absolute insanity, as the thinnest of margins we've ever seen in Simu Nation history. Up until this point, I think we've talked about tenths. We haven't talked about tens of thousands separating the drivers, have we, Jacob?
No, we haven't, and it's no different scene right now as we watch Bouchard go have an off as they get into the higher speed sector. Bouchard and Lamoureux have been fighting this close all season long to this point, but it's usually been a foregone conclusion. As 3 of the past 5 races, they've had somebody almost a minute ahead of them in Antoine Lacharite, but that is something I want to bring up to note. His name is not on the charts right now, so it's going to be those two fighting for the lead most likely by the end of this.
That's going to be very, very surprising to see a new winner amongst the field, and maybe finally getting our championship leader to get a win underneath his belt as well. Wouldn't hurt his championship run going into the Americas as we head into Willow Springs and Daytona to round out the championship.
Yep, Big Willow, and then the endurance layout for Daytona International Speedway is going to be just bringing it back to the States. We've had half of our races there so far, or gonna have a total of half our races in the States, because we've been to Road Atlanta, we've been to Road Atlanta, we went to Long Beach last time out, and then those other two were just going to be both of those tracks put together. Yeah, it puts together great racing. It's a great fit for these cars and the driving style in particular that we've seen from this league all season.
Absolutely, it's been tried and true, this championship, and more importantly, I think the grid of drivers that have showed up to this championship has really just impressed us time and time again. Those that have continued to show up week after week have just put on a tremendous show for us here at V-Speed time and time again, from traveling to the Americas to Italy and back. The drivers have performed week after week, and it's important to know that these aren't tracks that are running on the current P Cup calendar. So these drivers haven't necessarily practiced these cars and track combos week after week like some series or some championships might, mimic the official series. This one does not whatsoever. I think it's been quite the variety throughout this championship, and a unique variety to say the least. As you said earlier, we've been to Long Beach, Road Atlanta, we've been to Monza, now here at Zandvoort. Willow Springs, haven't seen that run in a championship in quite some time. And then Daytona, well, everybody was talking about Daytona a few months ago.
I've seen everything from purpose-built endurance race courses to the street course at Long Beach to modified layouts of regular tracks that we're going to see. Big Willow, and then the Daytona, which is synonymous with the U.S. NASCAR series, and the Rolex 24, the endurance layout. It's going to be a show with the high speed from here on out, especially here, as we got a few high speed sections that are going to play a huge role in who gets the positions early on. And I'm betting we're going to see a few offs as well on the exit of some of these corners.
I think you said that backwards, Jacob. I think you said NASCAR, and then there was some Rolex Daytona race that happened to be happening at the same track. It's really the other way around. There's the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, and then those NASCAR boys happen to show up every once in a while and do some NASCAR things and some oval racing, I think. I don't know what they do. They turn left, I think. They might even turn right. That's how little I know about NASCAR, Jacob.
Yep, Rolex 24 happens once a year. They go to Daytona twice, so you do the math on that one.
But how many miles? Who drives longer at Daytona? Hours-wise and mileage-wise, Jacob?
You're going to have to explain to me about the 24, but the oval side of it goes, depending on how many series are running, we're going to be upwards of 2,000 miles over the course of these races. But we are in the final minute of qualifying here, taking a look at David Lamoureux, who is currently sitting firmly on top after getting past Phil Bouchard on that timing sheet.
And barely snuck by. That 10th could mean the difference between winning the race and being a bridesmaid, unfortunately. Phil Bouchard out on track, still running right now, coming out of turn 10, and the run down towards Hans Ernstbach. Looking good, but can they find the improvement necessary? Phil Bouchard up a good heap amount of time, but will this be a valid lap at the end of the day?
Watching him take that long, sweeping left through Lunendijk down onto the front stretch, carrying as much momentum as he can, and he pulls it into the pits, as that is going to be the end of his qualifying run.
Not what I expected in the final moments of qualifying. I truly did expect him to be able to pull the rabbit out of a hat in the final stages, as he was running fairly well on that lap, or perhaps he'd invalidated it somewhere and that was going to be the conclusion of his run anyways. So we take a look at pit lane, waiting for the official results to come in before we get them populated. Jacob, any predictions for this race?
It's going to be as close of a call as possible between David Lamoureux and Phil Bouchard. We've seen them fight with each other for the rest of the podium places, a majority of these races. Neither of them have a win on the season, and I'm willing to bet we're going to see one of them get it tonight.
Well, time will only tell if one of these champions can be crowned tonight and become the Zandvoort King. Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful round brought to you by Simu Nation. This is going to be a V-Speed production from green to checkered flag, and we have to give a big shout out and thanks to our title sponsor, NOX Gaming. For PC building services in Canada, look no further than NOX Gaming. let's go ahead and walk through this grid, shall we, Jacob? As we get the session officially ticked over.
Yes, sir. As we get started with getting into the grid, the pole position is going to go to David Lamoureux. As we mentioned before, him and Phil Bouchard locking out that front row. It's going to be a tight battle between those two for a majority of this race. Jesse Mosley going to be rolling off in P3. Tommy Bork rolling off P4. Saw a valiant effort from him last week. Kevin Norris in 5th. Mathieu Prudhomme in 6th. Dominic Cruteau running in P7. Pierre Laporte in 8th. Valentin Ozganov in 9th, with Kevin Lord rounding out the top 10.
Down in 11th, it'll be Francis Fortin and Guilherme Boyer. Up next, it will be Olivier Langdoc and Johan Morency. Benjamin Gagnon, McLaughlin, and Jean F. Lessard. Sebastian Delage and Francis Thoreau. Francis Threfal and Devin Galindo. And that will round it out for us, Jacob.
20 cars, same as we saw last week at last time out at Long Beach. Who do you think is going to be the best shot at winning here tonight, Sagar?
Heart in mouth right now, because I want there to be a new winner tonight. But I want it to be from someone in the back of the pack. I want it to be someone that has had poor luck in this championship. I'm going to go for an underdog tonight. Back in P8, my hat goes off to Pierre Laporte, and I hope that he gets the win tonight, and he gets to take the top step of the podium.
We're going to see it here in a moment as we are gridded and waiting for those lights to go out, Sagar.
And you can hear the engines roaring, folks. That means we're ready to go. Green, green, green for Simu Nation, folks. And it's going to be a good run coming down in towards turn 1, covering off that inside line as much as possible. Pierre is going to fall back down to P9, but snap back to P8 as soon as possible. Jesse Mosley and Craven Norris are going to go side by side, but down in towards turn number 1, David Lamoureux and Phil Bouchard might go wheel to wheel, toe to toe, and blow for blow. Bouchard backs off and falls back into P number 2. David Lamoureux advances his run up to P1 right now, and it's going to be green and clean. Headed into the fastest part of the track, it's going to be Shevlock.
Watched Ozganov go farther, get turned around back there through the short 180 Hugenholtz down at the early part of that lap. Lamoureux up to the front of the field. We saw Bouchard give a couple of looks to the inside, swap it back to the outside, but Lamoureux was able to keep it locked in. Tommy Burke taking that third spot away from Jesse, or taking that spot away from Jesse Mosley. Kevin Norris taking 4th, knocking Mosley back down to P5 as we get toward the back end of the lap.
It's looking good for the leaders right now, but even further back, it's staying green and clean for the most part. The drivers are out here to impress us yet again with their ability to combat one another. Here comes Kevin Norris on Tommy Burke. The battle for the lead is going to go side by side. The battle back here is going to go side by side. We're going to have to take a look up ahead at Lamoureux and Phil Bouchard go toe to toe and blow for blow through first corner of Tarzan.
Both of these cars within a split second of each other, going up onto that banking, keeping as much momentum in it as they can through Hugenholtz, down through Hunsrug and to Rob Slotemaker. As we look further back in the field, Jesse Mosley now fighting off to try and stop losing positions. He's down 2 already and under fire from Cruteau as they get into Shevlock.
It's gonna be tight, it's gonna be hectic, but most importantly, it's gonna stay green amongst the field. It's important that the drivers know their limits and they're balancing it pitch perfectly on the nose right now. And here's at the speed cam, or the gopher cam as it were, we take a good look at the drivers coming out of turn 10 on the run down towards Hans Ernstbach.
Yep, through that left-hander down the hill into a sort of bowl that pulls him back up the hill, through the exit onto the right-hander at Kumo, which takes him to the high-speed, flat-out section, Luyendijk onto the front straight, and you can see how much banking is there. These drivers haven't seen that all season long so far.
No, but they better get used to it, because they're going to see a lot more banking, especially when we head to Daytona, and they hit the high banking there. Nearly 28 feet of elevation change, and that's just on the banking alone, Jacob.
Yep, it was remarked earlier on in the season that Red Bull Ring was like a roller coaster to these guys. This, it's got to have that same feeling because you got the undulation through the high-speed sections, you got the bowls and the turns that are throwing you every which way in the car, and you got to keep on the same line because any deviation from it is just going to lose time because you're going so fast through some of these sectors, as we can see them right now going through the back half.
Absolutely, Jacob. This is very much a driver's circuit and very much a roller coaster like feeling. It's the Dutch Sonoma Raceway, as it were, as drivers from GT World Challenge just race there at Sonoma, my home track. These drivers here have to compete at the Dutchman's home turf of Zandvoort. And it's a challenging track. Track position usually means everything here. It's extremely difficult to overtake unless you're making mistakes coming out of the final corner, just as we see there from Prudhomme, and Cruteau goes forward.
If Cruteau ended up getting all four wheels in the gravel, they're under fire by Prudhomme as they go down into Tarzan, able to wrap it around the outside, but Prudhomme is going to have the position on the inside. Cruteau able to get it back through the lead up to Hugenholz, which I think is going to be a bigger factor later on as we get some more tire wear. People are going to be really struggling to keep it planted through that the downhill bowl.
Very important to note that yes, the track will evolve over the course of this race. So the drivers' lines might change as time goes on. Vincent in chat cheering on Kevin Norris, who's sitting pretty on that podium right now in that 774 Simu Nation badged machine. And right now, the purple and yellow looks just as fast as the boys up ahead, Phil Bouchard and David Lemereau. Best laps trickling in, 134.5, 134.5, but Kevin Norris, he's got a 134.3 underneath his belt.
The fastest lap of the race came from our P4 driver, and the one that Kevin Norris got past to take that podium position is Tommy Burke, ran a 134.35 compared to Kevin Norris's 37. And those two have been as close to each other as we're seeing with Lemereau and Bouchard up front again. Bouchard throwing it to the outside, trying to carry some momentum through Tarzan, and he is not going to have the position going into this other sector here. He's got the inside, and he's going to send it to the inside through Gerlach and off through Hugenholz right now, and we might see a lead change.
Oh my goodness, here we go. Battles for the lead. This is exactly what we bought and paid to see tonight, folks. But going through the fastest part of the track, they're going to go side by side and bump and bang over the curbs. The 73 loses control of his car.
Bouchard, all four wheels off the track, ends up losing it into the gravel, and Lemereau is just going to start stepping away with Kevin Norris in tow. What a disaster. Bouchard's got a lot of ground to make up.
A lot of ground to make up, but still plenty of time left on the clock. 32 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. So, what is settling in for P8 for now, as you let the tires cool off, could definitely be a podium later on in the race. Bouchard sees his teammate in similar colors not too far back. That'll be Boyer, sitting 2 positions back in P10.
Bouchard on the season, 4 podium finishes and a season worst finish of P4, so he is going to be one to watch through the rest of this one, as we are already almost a quarter of the way through this race with just over a half hour remaining, as we're taking a look further up with Dominic Cruteau trying to fight with Jesse Mosley once again, getting to the back bumper of the 8 machine for that 4th position.
Battles all over the racetrack, although I say it's tough to pass. The Simu Nation team is definitely doing a great job of proving me wrong. The battle packs have stayed fierce and consistent. The lap times have definitely started trickling in. The drivers are getting faster and faster. Here's going to be Francis Fortin and Francis Thoreau going wheel to wheel, and the 23 finds the outside line. Here, Hugenholtz and jettisons away.
Fortin ended up pulling it into the pits for what I would assume is just a little bit of damage earlier on. Pulled it in, got it taken a look at. He's dropped 6 spots so far, started in P11, but he is gradually working that pace, trying to get up as far as he can. And he's got the 34 of Osganov, who had that off earlier, in P16 to contend with further up the track.
A little further up the road, what's a little cat and mouse chase for a recovery drive? I'm sure they'll figure it out. And up to Boyer as he chases down Kevin Lord, the pilot of the 125. 1.8 seconds up the road from there will be Phil Bouchard, and he's chasing down my man, Pierre Laporte. Unfortunately for Laporte, it might not go his way coming down into Tarzan, as the 73 has the overspeed and is late on the brakes.
It gets that braking, is able to slide through for that position. Bouchard had the previous fastest lap, was a 134.105 before the 8 of Jesse Mosley set a 134.0, the first one we've seen tonight, and he is already up into P7 on his way back through the field, as we're watching Kevin Lord battling with Guillaume Boyer further back. Olivier Languedoc trying to get to this battle as well to see if he can capitalize on both of them.
Maybe a 2-for-1 special, but that's a little over eager thinking. I think they're well equipped to go wheel to wheel, especially at a track like Zandvoort, where it's extremely difficult to pass. If you go for one, you might as well take both positions at the same time. Well, no, I'm just kidding. It's a little too hard to find an overtaking position going down in towards Hans Ernstbach because the run is so short coming out of turn 10 down into turn 11, Jacob. So if you're looking at making an overtake, where is your prime opportunity? And don't say turn 1, that's too easy.
It's not going to be turn 1. In fact, I'll say it's quite the opposite. The exit of Luyendijk at the end of the lap, which we're seeing right now, if you get a great run out of here with the slipstream from the car behind, you can pull him on the straightaway and have him well past before turn 1. Or if you hit your braking just right, you can make it around, as we're seeing Boyer trying to get around Lord right now, keeping that outside line, and he is going to be to the outside of the 125 and position himself to the inside for the next set of turns. And that's going to be advantageous for him, as we are going to see Languedoc try and make a move on Lord as well.
Looking for any way by these drivers, but too wide is awfully difficult to drive through. As we see the 203 and the 125 go wheel to wheel, and hopefully it doesn't end in tears like we saw earlier, and it does not. And they don't go over the curbs, they fall in single file line before we get down to Scheiblock, and we get to master single file. And towards turn 9 and turn 10, it'll be the 125 of Lord leading Boyer, and then Languedoc behind.
If there's one thing that we have seen from Kevin Lord through the battles that we have covered across the entirety of this season, is that he has been notoriously difficult to pass. He runs his line, and he is able to hold his position with the best of them in terms of just keeping it there. But it is to his other competitors' detriment, as they got to find a way around him, and he is making that car as wide as possible every time he gets on track. And it's held him to a couple of great finishes in the top 10.
Excuse me as I'm just a little distracted now. Watching the timing tower, David Lamoureux's gap has come down to 9/10 of a second. And is that due to lap traffic giveth, lap traffic taketh away there, as I think that was the 54 of Thoreau in the background. The gap opens up to 1.2 seconds now as we get into Masters.
Lamoureux was held up a little bit there by Thoreau, but he is able to get it back going. Taking a look at the 774 Kevin Norris, who inherited that second spot from Phil Bouchard. But that is another story that we are going to have to keep going back to, because Lamoureux and Bouchard are the only two drivers that have broken the 133 barrier. And Bouchard is the only one that's run a 133.8, fastest lap of the race, up in P7, trying to get back up to Mathieu Prudhomme further up the track. But he has got his own battle, and that might play into Bouchard's advantage as we get further on. We see somebody go a little bit wide. That's a 69 of Courteau.
Battles brewing everywhere I look on the timing tower right now. It's Burke, Mosley, Courteau, Prudhomme, and Bouchard further in the background. Hoping for something to pop off with the drivers up ahead, but I believe that would just be wishful thinking. Oh, here's a mistake from the 28, going a little too deep at turn 1. The 8's through, the 69 challenges the outside line here at the slingshot. But now, will it be side by side going through Rob Slaughtermaker? I think it will be, but this is dangerous. We've seen it go wrong before. But now the drivers all settle in, single file line as the 69 backs off substantially and must have gotten a slowdown penalty.
I think that might have been overtaking just a little bit too far outside of the track limits. And all this battle has done is pull Phil Bouchard within a half a second of the cars in front, and he is breathing down the neck of Courteau within almost a quarter of a second now, as Courteau is held up by Prudhomme. We might see a 2-for-1 once we get to the back half of the track from Phil Bouchard to try and get himself back into the top 5 and into the contention for this race.
What an amazing recovery drive. An amazing tenacity to not give up after a big spill like that. Not having significant amount of damage, Bouchard was able to get the car spun in the right direction, cool down the tires for a few laps, and get right back into the fight again. Bouchard, sitting in P7 currently, will strike that, make that P6. As we're about to go wheel to wheel, going in towards Tarzan. It's going to be hard and heavy on the brakes. The 73 is there. The 69 leaves plenty of racing breath on the inside line. And that gives the 73 an advantageous run going down and towards Hugenholtz.
Bouchard up to P6 right now, able to get past Courteau as he chases down Prudhomme. And we saw him planning that move from the exit of the final turn all the way down the front stretch, had himself in position for the inside of turn 1, which puts you at a disadvantage if you're running side by side into the next set of corners, which puts you on the outside. But he has been flying ever since he picked it up, and I think that spin that he had into the gravel happened just early enough for him to mount a great recovery drive and pick it up as fast as he has been running this entire time, because he is tearing it up right now, and he is already breathing down P5's neck.
Absolutely. Being a menace to the rest of the grid right now. We saw his pace during the qualifying session, and he was lapping just about a second quicker than the rest of the field, and now has to prove it lap after lap, this time at Zandvoort. He's proved it time and time again. At other tracks, he's been Mr. Consistency. Like Jacob said a few moments earlier, his worst result Well, it was a top 4. Now, the attack coming down in towards turn 1 for Bouchard makes the same move that he did on the 69. This time it sticks on the 166, who doesn't fight too hard.
Yep, there's no question that Bouchard is the fastest car through that first set of corners. Watching them make the exit of Hugenholtz onto this high-speed sector right now with that downhill left-hander into the S uphill across the left-hander at Sheevlock. You have to lift a little bit, give it a little bit of trail braking, but you're able to carry a lot of speed through there, and he has already picked up at least a second on Lamoureux up front as he tries to chase down Tommy Burke for that 4th position.
Gap has escaped Kevin Norris now. It settles into 3.5 seconds nearly. Lamoureux escaping up the road. Let's check in with Jesse Mosley, though, as he is waiting in the wings behind Norris, who's sitting even prettier on that podium now, a little bit deeper than P3, right in the middle. And that Goldilocks zone seems just about right for Norris, don't you think?
Yes, it is. And if he holds this, if he holds the speed that he's been running, just running his line, doing what he can to maintain that gap to the car behind, he can have P2 sewn up. And he's already sitting P4 in the points. He's doing really well over the course of the season as we watch a move by Prudhomme through on Croteau just now. Watching these two battle it back. There's the closest battle on track. But something else to note, Kevin Norris doesn't have a podium so far this season, so he's going to want to hold on to that position as tight as he can. Continuing to watch the 69 of Croteau try to track down Prudhomme in the 166 through the back half of the track, watching them go through these more technical sections, watching both of these lines develop as they go through them. You can see the nose of the 69 offset a little bit as they make their way through that top sector. Watching them go through going through their motions over the course of a lap, they just even out when they come to this back stretch here.
.166 attacks the curbs aggressively. 69 is a little bit more modest with them. Here's Phil Bouchard grabbing hold of Tommy Baroque. And the number 28 in 4th position. Now under threat from Bouchard. But teammates, if I'm not mistaken, as they're in nearly identical liveries. Yes, they are, and they're driving for the same team. I believe that'll be a conversation had on radio and a dispute that'll be settled on track, probably.
Yep, if I'm Burke right now, regardless if it's my teammate, I want to be able to fight with him as much as I can before he's gonna make some moves that he knows that I can't make to get past me. And that's what's ultimately going to give Bouchard the position, because we've seen that speed out of him all season long. And Burke has just been, he's been up there getting good finishes, but it's more of the explanation of the skill gap as of right now, because as the car behind you, it's still on you to make that pass cleanly. Like, the driver ahead doesn't have any motivation whatsoever to just let you by. Just because you've been proving that you're the faster car on track. He's going to fight as much as he can to improve himself through the course of this race, and I think it's going to be a tight battle between those two, and it's going to be quite possibly Bouchard's biggest challenge over the course of this race is getting past Burke right here.
Let's take a look. He set them up from a long way back previously. Let's see if he sets it up squarely as he's done before. Coming out of the final corner, getting presently alongside his teammate. He'll have the run going in towards the first corner. And further back, we have Croteau and Prudhomme going wheel to wheel. The 73 and the 28 go toe to toe. The 166 and the 69 will settle their debate as well as the 166 goes through on the 69 of Croteau.
positions. Time and time again over the course of this race, this is one of the closest battles on track, besides Bouchard having to make his way up through so many cars. Cruteau able to keep with Prudhomme as he continues to make his way through the middle sector here. Just running, they're running so similar laps, it's just a matter of who's going to get the run off the exit of that final turn, because that's what sets up the move into turn one, ultimately off of the front stretch. And whoever's behind is going to have the slipstream advantage, and it's just going to end up a stalemate until one of them decides to push it a little too hard and makes that mistake that decides a clear advantage.
And will that be decided here and now on lap 15? I don't think so. I think we're going to wait a little bit longer before these battles are completely resolved, and perhaps we'll have to be patient enough to wait for the checkered flag for some of them. Because for now, Bouchard and his teammate Burke are catching right now. 133.8, 134.2, compared to a 134.4 from Mosley out in front.
Yep, and something to consider, you don't have a lot of time to be able to make these moves, as we're seeing Prudhomme still holding off Dominic Cruteau through the exit of Hugenholtz right there, or going through Hugenholtz now, and Prudhomme is able to keep that car ahead. They've only got a little over 15 minutes left. We have been blazing through this race to the tune of, we were already past halfway. We didn't even make mention of it when we hit that time, and we are almost 15 minutes remaining in this race. So people have to start making those moves and just trying to go for those positions. Bouchard is almost a second within Jesse Mosley for the final podium position, and it is going to get down to the wire before the end of this.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and check in with the lead battle very quickly. It will be the 25 of Lamoureux with a 5.3 second gap. Definitely turned this, well, 2-horse race into a single one, as Lamoureux escaped out the road from Norris after Phil Bouchard had that bump going over the curb. It didn't look like there was contact, it just looked like a close side by side that resulted in a couple of wheels being misplaced and resulted in that accident for Bouchard. But now he's already back onto the rear wing of that number 8 and ready to tussle yet again with yet another driver on the racetrack. Hats off, despite getting the podium or not, Phil Bouchard might get my vote for driver of the day.
Without question, coming back from that early mistake that happened, just being able to fight his way back up the field is a testament to the skill that he has shown all season long. And gotta give hats off to Kevin Norris as well, able to hold that second position to Jesse Mosley, who has been just ever so slightly outside of that 1 second bracket. Now all three of them are within a second of each other. Kevin Norris, Jesse Mosley, and Phil Bouchard right now, as we're getting into we're getting into crunch time with the end of this race now.
Coming into the final 13 minutes, we're only going to get a few laps remaining in this race, folks. From the heli, we take a look at the battling trio for what normally I would say is best of the rest, but this is the battle for the rest of the podium tonight, which is a big change from what we normally see, isn't it, Jacob?
Yes, it is. Normally this is one of the early matchups that we see where the eventual podium placers are fighting amongst each other. But we don't see it normally this late with position changes. Normally it's a 2-car battle, but now we got 3 cars in the mix, and at least one of these guys isn't going to finish on the podium. And the result of that is going to be entirely dependent on who can keep it together the most and who can make those moves. And Bouchard has just been he's been sizing up Mosley for the past couple laps, and we've been waiting to see when he's going to send in for that move. And I think it may be coming here soon. As we see him dive to the inside on the 8 car, making his move to the inside and clearing him completely through the back half, getting towards Kevin Norris as well, still within a second as Jesse Mosley is bumped off the podium.
That was quite the move. Going down in towards turn 9, you definitely take that inside line a little bit more aggressively and shallower, but that does compromise your run in towards 10 potentially. It didn't compromise Phil Bouchard's run at all, apparently, and Mosley could do nothing to challenge that position back going down in towards 10. Now Bouchard looks forward to P2 with Kevin Norris, who's defending hard but fair from Jesse Mosley, well, for the past 30 minutes or so. Now he has the likes of Bouchard behind him. And how long will this battle brew for?
Well, one thing to note is that gradually, as we get through these laps, the gap to Lamoureux is fluctuating a little bit. It's evened out around 6 seconds to Lamoureux, but he just set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:33.7. First time we've seen that metric tonight, as he is trying to stretch it out over Norris. Bouchard trying to catch up to Norris to put himself in P2 and try and catch up that 6-second gap all the way back to the front. As we're watching this battle happen further back in the field, we got Johan Morency trying to fight with the 34 of Oskanov just ahead.
Yes, indeed, the 34 was able to get ahead of the 194. They went side by side through 2 and down into Hugenholtz. It belongs to the 34. Back over to the battle between Kevin Norris, Phil Bouchard, and Jesse Mosley. I don't want to take my eyes off of these gentlemen. And no, this isn't a Frank Sinatra song. This is the Porsche Cup race with Simu Nation, folks. And we got to keep our eyes glued to this battle because anything can and will happen in motorsports. And it typically does, especially in the final closing minutes of a race.
Yes, indeed. We've seen it a couple of times throughout the season where late moves have decided great finishes and late launches have decided that you need to be finishing further back as a result of it. And Bouchard has been slowly digging away at the rest of this battle. He's pulled himself back onto the podium, but Kevin Norris still holding on to that second position so far. Jesse Mosley not out of it either, and he's going to be a little sore that Bouchard sent it in on him earlier. And he's not going to be giving up that easily, as all 3 of these cars within a half second of each other.
Just absolutely glued at the hip. Bouchard, the meat of this sandwich between the 774 and the number 8. And I asked the question earlier, how long before this pot boils over? Well, I think the answer is just about now, as Bouchard gets the run coming out of turn 10 down in towards Hugenholtz, or Hans Ernstbaum, excuse me. Out of Kumho, though, is where he is strongest. And then out of the final corner is where he carries the speed.
Not going to carry a lot of speed out of there that time, as he made contact with the back bumper of Norris, and that sacrificed a little bit of speed, and that might open the door for Mosley with a move into this first sector. All 3 of these guys within the toe of the car ahead. Kevin Norris still holding on to the position. Bouchard able to lock up to the back bumper again, but Norris is covering it off too well, as he is going to hold it through the exit of the Hugenholtz onto Hunsrück out into this high-speed sector, and he's going to hold that second position once again, as everybody behind is going to have to regroup.
Falling in single file line, Norris, Bouchard, and Mosley. All within 1 second. You can throw a blanket and cover up all three drivers as Bouchard makes a leaping look at the 774 up ahead. It was just a look. He wasn't going to go for it, I don't think, unless the door presented itself. And Kevin Norris, well, he's just driving his line right now and not worried about looking in the rear view mirror. That's typically the key to defending fairly and squarely, as Kevin Norris has a big tank slapper as he mounted the curbs coming out of Hans Ernstbach and now dips a couple wheels off coming into the final corner. This will surely hand it over to Bouchard now.
Bouchard able to get alongside and pass Kevin Norris for the second position as we get toward 5 minutes left in this race. Up to second place is Bouchard, gets past the 774 as that little mistake just backed everybody up just enough to get a good exit out of the final corner as we see the 8 of Mosley now trying to look for that move on Norris. Mosley able to keep in this track once again to try and get back up into the podium places, but Bouchard is already starting to get that gap extended just a little bit through the middle sector.
Now, it's Bouchard, Norris, Mosley in this train. Now, how long before it boils over yet again? But in the other direction, Phil Bouchard has been almost faultless this entire race, barring one critical mistake. He's back up into P2, a little too late to catch up to Lamoureux out in P1. What about Mosley? He's been closing down on Norris for some time and patiently waiting for his opportunity. The TNR driver looks to be waiting for that moment to come. But is it too late for him in the number 8?
I would say not, because Mosley and Norris have been lapping almost... They've been lapping extremely consistent to each other as we see a little bit of a dive there, try and get a little bit of momentum in toward Mosley. And what we were seeing out of Bouchard, what we're seeing trying to get past Norris earlier, is he's trying to get into the other driver's head so that they make the mistake and so they don't have to force the issue, as we see both of them go a little bit wide there through the exit of Hugenholtz right there. Mosley able to keep within that half second of Norris catching up just behind, and he might try to make this move before the end of this lap.
Boyer and Laporte going toe-to-toe as well through the S's. It looks like Laporte loses out to Boyer as the 203 is free and clear of that number 662 that I was hedging my bets on earlier on in this race when we were just getting gridded up.
Boyer up 4 spots, currently tied with Sebastien Delage for the biggest mover of the race. Boyer currently sitting in P8, watching this battle up in the front of the field again. Kevin Norris still holding off Jesse Mosley as they get toward the front stretch. Once Mosley tucks in and tries to get this the slipstream off of Norris, could we see a move before the end of the next lap? So we got 3.5 minutes left before Lamoureux takes that white flag.
That means we should get a bonus lap by my quick cocktail napkin math. I believe we'll get this one plus 2 more based on where the leader of Lamoureux lies. 774 definitely under attack from the number 8 behind. Could this be the downfall of Kevin Norris going into the final few minutes of this event? Can he remain fault-free and mistakeless? The 774 needs to be pitch perfect now more than ever. Leaves the door open, just ajar. And the 8 tried to stick his foot in, but it couldn't quite open it all the way. Drivers here are extremely cautious, but aggressive at the same time with their overtakes, going for high percentage moves only in the championship run.
And I don't blame them for a second. I'm taking a look at the standings again right now. Norris and Mosley both are fighting for their first podium of the season. Jesse Mosley already in a position to get his best season best finish. His current best finish last time out at Long Beach was P6. Caven Norris has finished 4th and 5th multiple times. So both of these guys are going to be fighting as hard as they can just to set that benchmark for the season.
It is always an amazing feat to get that podium in a league race when really the odds are stacked against you. With good, hard-fought battles like this, you can definitely walk away with your head held high, even if you don't get a drink of champagne at the end of the night. 1 minute and 25 seconds remaining on the clock. That will be Lamoureux coming through and giving us an additional bonus lap, unless he decides to park it there on the checkered stripe.
Meanwhile, we are just enraptured with this battle for the final podium position. One of the closest battles on track all race long. Got another battle further back. Guillaume Boyer up on Pierre Laporte once again. Jesse Mosley still trying to look on Norris as we're back looking at the 203, trying to fight for the position on the 662. Laporte up into P8 with Boyer able to keep within his wheel tracks and try and make it back.
On to the final lap of the race. There you see it on the timing tower. 1 to go officially, folks. Lamoureux is going to lead us around for the final time. Coming down in towards turn 1 for the final time. It'll be Mosley's last opportunity to make an attacking lunge going down in towards Tarzan.
Yep, the 8 of Jesse Mosley has run an almost flawless race up to this point. Caven Norris saw a little bit of the cracks earlier on when he was fighting with Phil Bouchard, when he was trying to get back up through this field. Caven Norris able to hold on to that 3rd spot for a majority of this run so far, but Mosley is putting it to him within almost 0.2 of a second the entire way through that fast sector. As they make their way through the back half right now, Mosley's running out of time.
Final few moments with the closing stage of this race coming at us. This is definitely going to be a drag to the line at the end of the day. Whereas Lamoureux on the racetrack, well, he's getting ready to come around the final corner for the final time. It was a hard-fought victory for the 25, but taking us from green to checkered flag will be David Lamoureux. Started first, led us for 25 of these critical laps, and took home the victory. Phil Bouchard, though, coming home in second, couldn't lead us for a single lap, unfortunately. Caven Norris bringing it home in third with a drag to the line with Mosley, and it'll be milliseconds separating the two of them. Tommy Bork bringing it home in fifth, and Prudhomme in sixth. Courteau in seventh, with Pierre Laporte and Boyer rounding out eighth and ninth, with Kevin Lord rounding out the top 10.
And just an excellent showing that a lot of these drivers have put on. That mistake from Bouchard kind of robbed us of a knockdown drag out with him and Lamoureux for a majority of this race, but watching him catch back up through the field was incredible. David Lamoureux put the brakes to everybody over the course of this race, and he is well deserved of this first win on the season.
Absolutely. Johan Morency, Sebastian Delage, Olivier Langdoc, Benjamin Gagnon McLaughlin coming home in 15th. Francis Thoreau and Francis Thraffa coming home in 15th, 16th, and 17th to round us out.
lot of these drivers just putting on a show, showing what these guys have to do week in and week out to get the good finishes. David Lamoureux with that first one on the season, taking it home P1. Phil Bouchard, after the early off, brings it home in P2. A valiant run from him. Kevin Norris taking his maiden podium of the season. Jesse Mosley not able to get it back up into that top 3, but able to get a best finish on the season nonetheless. Tommy Burke brings it home in P5th. Mathieu Prudhomme in P6. Dominic Cruteau in 7th. Pierre-Etienne Laporte in P8. Guillaume Boyer in 9th. Kevin Lord getting another top 10 on the season.
Oziganov in P11, Morency in 12th, Delage in 13th, Languedoc in 14th, Laughlin in 15th, Thoreau in 16th, Rafal, 410, Lessard, and Galindo round out our 20 participants tonight, folks. Thoughts, feelings after the results finally, Jacob? How do you feel?
I think that we saw one of the better races over the course of this season tonight. We didn't see a lot of close racing throughout the pack, but we did see a lot of high intensity moves being made, and those mistakes really ended up costing those drivers as much as they possibly could have, because this really is one of the rhythm tracks that we've seen, and once you break that rhythm, it's really hard to get back going. But we saw a really good fight from Bouchard to get back up from P8 all the way back to P2 with that solid podium.
Absolutely true. It was a showstopper from the word go. It was absolutely breathtaking to see Bouchard and Lamoureux go side by side for so long and stay so close throughout this event. Now, things have come to a close. I definitely gotta say congratulations to Kevin Norris, who put on a wonderful show tonight and battled with Jesse Mosley to the very end of the race.
Yeah, both of them putting together season best finishes. It was a great showing throughout the entirety of the race, and then everybody else finishing out this race with a great run. It's just, I can't wait for the rest of the races this season. I can't believe there's 2 weeks between races. I can't wait till we get to Willow Springs, man.
I know, especially when we come to California. It's going to be one of my home tracks, that's for sure. Well, at least I'll claim it to be with Sonoma and Laguna Seca. Well, anything in California is my home track. And then we head over to Daytona to round things out as we conclude this wonderful championship that started so long ago back in January. But now it feels so sad that we're coming to a bitter end.
And speaking of end, at the end of this race, we had a winner, a first-time winner on the season. Are we able to take a moment to talk to David Lamoureux?
I'm waiting for him let's see if we can grab him. David Lamoureux, do you have a copy? We do not. No, unfortunately not. And I don't see anybody here for an interview walking up to the broadcast booth here at V-Speed from the circuit to Zandvoort. So with that, Jacob, let's close things out. Any closing remarks from you?
I'm just noting that we are 3/4 of the way through the season so far, and Phil Bouchard is still going to be in the points lead. It's looking like, and he is going to be fighting to keep it, because Lamoureux getting that win is going to take a little bit out of his lead. But he's got 2 rounds to put good, solid finishes together and keep that fight on for the championship.
I'm rubbing my hands together and licking my lips. I'm beaming with anticipation for 2 weeks' time when we come back. This time running will be at Willow. Thank you very much for joining, everybody. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's been a pleasure to be your host, take you from green to checkered flag. I'm your host, Sagar Bakshi. Joining me in the broadcast booth has been Jacob Lenke on behalf of V-Speed. It's been a pleasure. But for all good things must come to an end, and so shall this. Have a great night, and as always, make sure you stay safe out there. Goodbye for now.